I'm the Vice President of Marketing here at Public Interest Registry. And Public Interest Registry, actually more specifically .org, celebrated its 25th anniversary just recently. And, and Public Interest Registry has been managing the .org domain since 2003. And as you know, the use of domain names has evolved quite a bit in 25 years. Um, Started primarily with organizations and companies registering a name for their online presence, and it's evolved into just about any use for um, information that goes online has a domain name associated with it now. So it's come a long way, and .org has grown with that as well in all of that time. And um, yeah, it became the place where .com was for commercial organizations, and org became the home for non-commercial type of organizations. So if you're an individual, a group, a club, um, not a specific commercial entity, then org was the place you went to register your domain name. But today we have lots of companies that are registering a .org, either for brand protection on their name or for highlighting some of their do-good initiatives. There's always the question of, if I register a .com or if I register a .org, am I going to see any different results? And one thing is true, and that is, if the more TLDs you register and have content behind it, the more potential you have for showing up in one or multiple places on that first page of Google search results. So I think organizations are now looking at not just registering other versions of the name and top level domains for brand protection, but also putting content behind there. So if you were to search on that company name or that product category, for example, you may see more of the search results on that first page reflecting that organization's name. So I think there's a trend of that going on right now. But overall, with regard to org versus com or net, there isn't any specific advantage between those. But one other thing to consider too is, and some organizations are doing this, is if some of your do-good initiatives as a corporation may reside on your .com site, but may be buried many levels deep in your directory, in your website directory. A search engine will only go so deep when they index your site. And if all your do-good initiatives are buried several layers down, then they may not get picked up by a search engine. So that's an opportunity for a corporation to put it on a .org to highlight their do-good initiatives and actually have that indexed by a search engine and become more visible to the public. Well, we've been studying the many uses of .org domain names for some time. We've done a lot of work to understand what our base is made up of in terms of the activities that go on a .org site. And there's really some interesting things going on. And we really felt that the Y I chose was a place for us to share all this information that we're finding. And while it may look like a rebranding kind of effort, to us it was really, okay, geez, we should let people know what we're finding out here and share this with the rest of the world, because there's really a wide variety of uses for org. It's primarily for serving the public interest, but it ranges from companies, individually, with the .org presence, and on the YHO site, there's there was a group of companies that got together to launch a site that talked about how well they're doing. This was during a peanut recall, and how they were doing good things to protect their customers and so forth. So, as I said, there's just so many interesting ways this is being used that we just felt, gosh, we need to get the story out. Okay, so uh, we can start simple. There's if you go to google.com, of course, you get their search engine. But if you go to google.org, you get to see what they're doing with the community and some of their various community initiatives. Um, uh, you have nonprofits, of course, that are using .org as their primary site. Um, but again, typically the things you know and expect to see on a .org, things like what nonprofits are doing, um, every company or individual seems to have that interest in mind as well. And many of those will go ahead and launch a website. So you could have an individual such as yourself or I that we may feel very strongly about a specific cause. May have had a relative that went through a battle with cancer, so we've decided to put up our own website to help fundraising for American Cancer Society, or our involvement with the various Walk for the Cure kind of programs that are going on. But it's really the power of communication and reaching out to your community for a cause that has driven a lot of people to register a .org website. And again, this includes companies that want to reach out to their community, individuals, or a group of people pulling together to reach out. So uh, there's a lot of stories about individuals that are launching sites. Um, Even in the age of social networks, you have people still wanting to put up a permanent home where they can use all the tools available for composing a very engaging interaction with their community, well beyond what you get with a LinkedIn or a Facebook kind of experience. And that's really driving registrations and the ongoing development of websites. Well, there's a lot of attention right now within the ICANN community. You familiar with ICANN, the organization? Yeah. Okay. There's a lot of attention there on uh, new top-level domains. ICANN has done a very good job of working with the greater community to build up an applicant guidebook that will um, create an environment of new top-level domains where uh, precaution is put in place for security and safety on the internet, stability, doing a very thorough job at that. But within, we're seeing like .co relaunching as a generic, and I think that has a potential of getting some traction because when you think about habits today, people type in .org or .com. .co is just one letter short of typing in com, so it's the habits of you type in the .c, the .o. If you stop there, it doesn't really break a habit that people have that they really may not be paying close attention to as they're typing in a name. So I think they've got that going for them. Um, and there's always the question of name availability. And would you register a name that's now available in .co, but is already taken by someone else in .com and risk losing that traffic? That's always a concern by somebody that's investing a lot of money in their web presence. So it'll be interesting to see how all of that plays out over time. One thing I found that some organizations are proposing is when you when they launch their new top level domain, they will also do some type of a certification at the same time. So if you register a community uh, a domain name in a community TLD, um, doing so also projects to the world that you're part of this community, you're registered in this community, maybe you pass some certification um, that allows you to register that domain name for that community. That's a nice add-on to an organization that may already have a .org domain name or a .com, and they now want to be seen as a green organization or part of a different type of community. There, I think there's potential for a new top-level domain to get some traction. I would hate to see another kind of Me Too top-level domain that's really not any different than what you can do today, but to add something on top of a domain name registration. .music is doing some very interesting things. .tel is doing some interesting things that are a little bit different than a typical use of a domain name that has a way of pulling in people to register and make use of the technology that sits behind that domain.